Alright, this is John Cole at DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And in this episode, what I'm going to do with you guys is actually I'm going to share with you guys some tips that you will want to look for and some things you will want to look out for when watching video reviews online. You know, one of the things I do is I make video comparisons about all the different juicers as well as dehydrators and blenders that are on the market, as well as other products that allow you to include more fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet. And there's other people doing this. You know, I'm not alone in this crusade to helping to get people to eat healthy by eating more fruits and vegetables. And many of the people out there making videos they're doing a great job. You know, I've watched some of them myself. Unfortunately, there are people out there, whether they're intentionally or unintentionally, in my opinion, misinforming and misguiding people, which makes me really sad. And you know, so the only thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to make a video to kind of maybe show you guys maybe some of the things you should look for when watching a comparison review video. And more importantly, I'm actually going to share with you guys in truth what these machines on the table actually produce when juicing the exact amount of produce. Because, you know, above all else, as much as I represent many different brands here in the United States, I like to thank all the major brands, all the major players in the United States. And I don't care which juice you buy, I do hope and pray that you would actually purchase it from me so I could continue to do my work and make these educational videos. Share with you guys the truth. You know, I don't really care what juice you buy. I just care that you actually get the juicer that's going to be best for you, that you're actually going to use each and every day, that's going to be durable and last for your lifetime, so you can continue to juice and derive the benefits of the fresh fruits and the fresh vegetables. And you know, there's some people that maybe have ties with certain manufacturers, so they're going to maybe make the manufacturer's juicer that they're representing look better than maybe the other ones. And you know, hey, that's what happens when you are the manufacturer and you want to make yours look the best, better than everybody else's. And you know, that's cool. People are going to do that, so I just want you guys to pay attention. But when there's a person that, you know, makes out to be, impartial, and then they're kind of like really slanted to one way or the other, you know, it's kind of difficult for me to watch personally. And I don't personally like, misinformation. And I always try to be as, represent the products as accurately as I can, do accurate testing with accurate weights of all the produce, and share with you guys actually what happens. I don't really care, because I sell all the major brands, and you know, if there's a problem with one brand or another, hey, guess what? That's an opportunity for that brand to improve, raise the bar, get better, and actually even surpass the other brands. And that's what I really look forward to. That's, you know, one of the things I like about our commerce system is that there's competition. In any competition, people have to get better, or you'll go the way of some of the U.S. car makers before they got bailed out. In any case, what I want to do first is actually get into actually doing a test with all these different juicers. I'll explain all the different juicers I have here today. And then at the end of this episode, actually, I'll kind of get into some more commentary, and we'll look at, you know, one of the videos that I get regular inquiries about. John, what do you think about this juicer? You know, people think it's really good because they watch a 7-minute, highly edited video that may not be entirely accurate. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my commentary at the end of this episode so that you guys that are wondering about that juicer can hear my opinions, because I get it asked like all the time. So in this video, we'll be talking about a few juicers today. I got a whole bunch that I'll be demoing. This is like the largest juice off comparison I've ever done in my life. It's quite a preparation and takes quite a bit of time. But anyways, the juicers we got today, we got the Hurom HH Elite. This is one of the more modern day Huroms, known as the second generation. In addition, we have the Omega VSJ843. This is also a second generation machine. Next, we have the Slowstar juicer. The next one we have is a juicer with a 3-inch wide feed chute that, in my opinion, is made in the same factory as the Optimum 600 juicer. That has a wide 3-inch feed chute. Basically, we'll talk about more about this juicer in a little bit. And then finally, the last juicer we got is another juicer with a wide 3-inch feed chute. It's the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite Model C7000. Now, the video in question that I'm talking about, they basically promote the Optimum 700 machine. That machine was just released in the United States just recently, so I actually haven't gotten one of those to test. So I'm testing their previous style generation machine that I believe to be made in the same factory that actually do have the yield between the new and the old version may be a little bit different, but this would basically just give you a representation on how it performs overall. The next thing I want to let you guys know about is that in any juice off or any comparison between juicers, there's more to the juice off than just the winner of the yield. That's very important. If you guys take any time to watch my videos, which I encourage you guys to watch, yield is only one factor when you go to purchase a juicer, right? There's many different factors that may be important to you. Certain juicers may juice certain produce items better than others. In general, the vertical single augers like we're looking at today tend to do very well on nice, hard, firm fruits. They do a great job, better than most other juicers on the market. Many of them will do a really good job at leafy greens, and some even excel at juicing the leafy greens. Of course, on hard vegetables, some are better than others, depending on their specific design and all this kind of stuff, right? And so that's just how the produce juices in the juicer you're considering is another factor besides the yield. Another factor may be how easy is the juicer to use. This includes, does it have a nice large feed chute or does it have a smaller feed chute, right? These are pros and cons. In wide feed chute machines, you may tend to jam too many things in there, which is going to cause an overfeed situation, which is going to lower your yields. It also may block and stop up the juicer. On a smaller juicer, that actually helps you to slow down juicing, so you're not feeding things in super fast, so the machine actually may make a higher yield in the end. Also, of course, with ease of use is how easy is a juicer to clean. Some juicers have more nooks and crannies, some are more streamlined, some have all these different parts in the screen that can be more challenging to clean. So that should be another consideration. Of course, another consideration for many is the price. John, what's the price of the machine? Some people believe the higher the most expensive juicer is the best one, and that may or may not be true. Some people are like, I'm just going to get the cheap one. They all do the same thing. And in most cases, in my experience, that's definitely not necessarily the case. Another factor may be how long is a warranty. Some juicers claim to have a lifetime warranty on the motor, right? And unfortunately, the motor is the least likely thing to fail on one of these vertical single auger juicer machines. The most likely thing to fail is actually the top set right here. So I would encourage you guys to support and purchase a juicer with a long warranty on the top set. The warranties vary between all these, but basically the warranty that's the longest of any of the juicers here is actually the Omega BSJ 843. It has a full 15-year warranty on the whole entire machine. Some of the other machines like the Slowstar and the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite have a 10-year warranty on the entire machine, and some of the other brands basically they have maybe a longer warranty on the motor, but then a short warranty on the parts. And unfortunately, if you have to start buying juicing screens or juicing augers, it can get really expensive really fast. So that's why I recommend one of the machines that actually have a nice long warranty on the entire machine, so that you guys are covered in the investment you're making to improve your health. Of course, another thing besides just the length of the warranty is the company going to be around to support the warranty after you buy it? There's been fly-by-night juicer companies, believe it or not. I've sold juicers in the past, and the juicer company was a fly-by-night. They went out of business, and everybody that bought their juicer with a long warranty basically had no warranty. So you always want to know the history behind the company that's selling the machine. Hey, have they just started selling juicers in the U.S. like last year or even this year? Are they a brand that you never heard of before? Or are they a good established American brand like Omega that's been around in the U.S. like 30 plus years solid? I mean, they're one of the oldest companies in the United States that's been in juicing. I mean, Trivest, who makes the Slowstar juicer, another example. They've been in business in the United States for over 25 years now. And Kuvings, they're a relatively more of a newcomer, but definitely longer than maybe some of the companies that sell some of the other machines, such as the model right here. So yeah, so I mean, even if you have a long warranty, if you're not going to be able to get warranty service or parts, then what good is the warranty? I mean, aside from how long the company's been around, is you want to check reviews and see, how interactions with customers and the manufacturers have been for warranty service. Very important. I've covered this in episodes before and all this kind of stuff, and all I can tell you guys is this. If you guys purchase a juicer from Discount Juicers and the company still is in business, and we try to only represent companies that are good and solid, and you're not getting your warranty claims met with them by trying to contact them or whatever is happening, and you buy from us, let me know personally. I will ensure that you guys are taken care of. I can't say this for if you buy this from a big box store or from some XYZ company online. I don't know those companies, but I have personal relationships, with Trivest, with Omega, with Kuvings, and hopefully new companies. I have personal relations with them that I value, but also the manufacturers value, because they know I represent, and more importantly, fairly represent their machines. And I share just how it is. Sometimes some companies don't like some of the things I say about their juicers, but you know what? They accept it because they know I'm just sharing my truth. And if they don't like it, I encourage them not to badmouth me or anything, but to, hey, make their juicer better, right? Improve their machine. So then next time I make a video, it's not going to have the same issues. And that's all right. That's how things should go, especially in this day and age of, internet marketing and social media. So yeah, can you get parts? How can you get service and all this kind of stuff? Very important points to consider. Another thing to consider is the size of the machine and the weight of the machine, which may be important to you. If you're an old lady and it's, the machine's so heavy you can't pick it up and move it, then that might not be the best juicer to get for you. If you have a house and it has countertops and you have cabinets up above and they're really, low, then you might want to get a machine that's a little bit smaller in the footprint. Or, if you have a lot of space, and you can get one that's taller, but this might not work for some people. I always encourage you guys to leave the juicer out on the table or on your countertop so that it's always right there so you can always juice with it. My juicer remains in my kitchen, on my countertop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that it's always there so I could really juice and make it convenient and easy. Another factor you may want to consider is what's the wattage of the motor, or what kind of power requirements do it take? How much watts does it draw? This is important if you say live off the grid. Most of us don't care about how many watts the juicer uses. Some juicers may use as low as 100 up to 150 watts, and some juicers may use up to 240 watts. And just because the juicer pulls more watts doesn't mean it's necessarily a more powerful juicer. It may or may not, but with gear reduction and things these days, even some lower powered machines may get a higher yield. Another factor you guys should take into consideration before purchasing a juicer is what is the juicer's track record and how durable is it? Some of these machines have been out on the market for several years now, and I get reports all the time of when a machine breaks. And so I see which machine tends to break more than others, so I have this knowledge that I could share with you guys so that you guys could make the proper purchase decision. This is especially important if you live out in Jamaica or Barbados, where you just can't go down the store and get juicer parts. Even in the US you can't go down the store and get juicer parts, but at least the juicer manufacturers that I represent are in the US and have a stock of parts that they can ship you and you could get in just a few days. But if you got to take this juicer somewhere where it's hard to get things imported and exported, that may be another consideration that's important to you, to have a very durable machine that's not going to break on you. For example, this machine right here, the wide 3-inch feed chute, the machine's made in the same factory, I believe, as the Optimum 600 machine. The first time I used it, the little peg on the bottom that holds in the little silicone flap that keeps the pulp inside the machine broke on me, And so, the qualities can vary widely. Oh, another thing, talking about quality, is where is a juicer made? All these machines, except one, is made in a single country, Korea, South Korea. And in my opinion, Koreans, they've took their technology and manufacturing up a level in recent years, I would say right after like Japan and Germany, then there's like Korea with the quality. Look at some of the Hyundai cars and some of their excellent products, LG TVs coming out of Korea these days. And the juicers are no different, In my opinion, the Koreans and juicers made in Korea definitely are of higher quality than maybe some of them made in China, like this one right here. Not to say that China, isn't, good at making juicers. They can be, but unfortunately many of the products coming out of China is not the highest quality. So another thing that you may want to consider when purchasing a juicer is what companies invest money into R&D, right? Into research and development, because it's these companies that are actually investing in R&D and actually doing experiments and testing and finding out how to improve their juicer are the ones that are basically leading the field and going to make better products, right? So I've actually visited the Hurom R&D department. I visited the Kuvings R&D department. I visited the Trivest R&D department actually over in Korea when I visited their factories many years ago. and they're investing millions of dollars in research and development. Another thing also you may want to consider is who holds a patent for this style machine. You know, for example, Hurom basically is titled with inventing the vertical single auger juicer. And you know, so the Omega is actually, I'll tell you the secret, is made by Hurom for Omega, but Omega covers a warranty and has better customer service in the US anyways. And as with the Kuvings whole slow juicer, they own the patent on the wide 3-inch feed chute vertical single auger juicers, where some companies may be actually infringing on the patent. You know, Korea invented the technology, and you know, and in general, China or you know, companies in China will basically knock off the technology and steal patents. So when you're supporting companies that are basically making potentially illegal units that potentially may have, you know, lawsuits between the original patent holders, and then they go out of business because they're patent infringing, then once again you may not be able to get the part. So I want you guys also to look into, you know, who came up with this original idea and who was first to market, right? Because you know, there's a lot of copycat machines that may not be of the same quality. Of course, that being said, you know, sometimes copycat machines are better and they push the envelope and make things better, and that's what I encourage. You know, whether somebody's copying and improving it, hey, that's good too, because I just want the best juicer that works. And of all these machines, you know, one of these machines actually sit on my countertop that I use basically almost each and every day. So at the end of this episode, I'll share with you guys which one that is. In any case, after you guys know about some of the criteria that you may want to consider when buying a juicer, the thing I want to really get into next is actually a juice-off comparison. We're going to go ahead and get set up so that we could use all these juicers today to juice the exact same amount of ingredients to show you guys the yield, and more importantly, show you actually how the machines work when juicing these items. So as you guys can see, I got the juicer set up to juice. Basically, I just got a juice collection cup, and I got a pulp catch cup, literally, to catch the pulp. And then as you guys can see, we've got even amounts of produce weighed out in each of my same size containers. And so what we'll be juicing today are something that's actually going to juice relatively easy in any vertical slow juicer. It's you know, we got one cucumber, one apple, a quarter piece of lemon, and a little bit of ginger for some nice flavor. So you know, one of the important things is when you're watching YouTube comparison videos, it's very important that the person juicing is actually juicing the same amount in each juicer. Otherwise, the yield may be off because somebody may feed in more produce in one juicer than another, and then of course, if they're feeding in more produce in one juicer than the other, it's going to get more yield, right? So I like to always show you guys the weigh-in on every juice off I do. And you guys don't understand, like, I cut, wash, and prepare the produce and cut off little pieces to make sure that I get accurate weigh-ins on each and every juice off I do, because it is important to me to remain fair and to show the real results. Because once again, I'm not tied to any manufacturer. I don't care who wins the juicer competition that I do. I just want to be fair so I know, because you know, that's going to influence me on what juicer I use in my home, because I juice every day. And I don't know about some of these people, maybe they don't juice every day, or they don't care as much to getting the highest yield and having the easiest juicing experience in me, but whatever. Anyways, let's go ahead and do the weigh-in on each of these 4 scales, and then we'll go ahead and weigh in the last one on the last scale, because actually I've never done a juice off with 5 juicers before. All right, now we're going to go ahead and do the weigh-in over on the Hurom. Looks like we got 598 grams. Over on the Omega, it's again 598 grams. Over on the Slowstar, 598 grams. Over on the juicer that's made in the same factory as the Optimum 600, in my opinion, 598 grams. The Kuvings does not actually have a scale, so we're going to go ahead and remove this bowl, and I tear it out for the bowl weight. We'll put this bowl on. As you guys can see, 598 grams. All of these scales are the exact same weight. All right, so as you guys saw, we got a fair and even fight. 598 grams on every scale, and let me tell you, it took some time to get them all right on, shaving little pieces off of this and that. But you know, I do this because I want an accurate comparison to show you guys the truth about these juicers. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get juicing. It's going to be pretty fast and efficient in all the machines. We're going to go ahead and juice from this side to that side last. turn this Hurom on. We're just going to drop in one piece of produce at a time. Apples having a little bit hard time feeding in because of the small feed chute. Important thing to remember when juicing in any vertical slow juicer is to not use a pusher. If you're using the pusher, you're likely going to be pushing the produce into the machine too fast, which may negatively impact the yield. As you guys can see, I'm actually just taking the produce and dropping it into the machine. Let's go ahead and put another apple in. And another quarter cucumber here. As you guys can see, it's basically letting the machine suck it in at its own pace unless the produce item gets actually stuck in the machine. These apples are a little bit large for the feed chutes on these guys, so I'm having to push it so that it actually can get in all the way. Another thing that's important when juicing in any juicer is to rotate the textures you're putting in the machine. Don't just put all the apples, all the cucumbers. Not a good thing to do. I'm going to go ahead and end on a cucumber note today. I've tried to do the best I can with alternating the produce items. Alright, last piece of cucumber going into the Hurom juicer. Alright, so the most important thing to remember when juicing in any slow juicer, don't turn it off once you put the last produce item in. Let it continue to run. Next thing I'll do is we're going to go ahead and start in this machine. Go ahead and start up with an apple first in the Omega VSJ 843. Show you guys how this machine does. Once again, we're letting all the produce kind of just drop into the machine. I'm not going to edit any of this juicing part for you guys. Once again, rotating the produce items. I really like that the vertical slow juicers are pretty much, self-feeding. Makes your job really easy. Alright, meanwhile the Hurom looks like it's pretty much done juicing. We can go ahead and turn that off. Let's go ahead and stick the last apple into the VSJ 843. And finally we're going to go ahead and follow that with a cucumber. We're going to go ahead and let that auto feed while we move on to the next one, the Slowstar juicer. Turn that on. Start off with an apple, nice soft consistency. Having some challenges with the getting stuck in the feed chute there. Got it pushed in. Again, follow that with a cucumber. Alright, we got a machine failure. So we're not able to juice with the Slowstar juicer today for some reason. I think the VSJ is done juicing. We're going to go ahead and stop that. Next, we're going to go to the juicer that's made, in my opinion, in the same factory as the Optimum 600. Going to go ahead and turn this baby on. Nice large feed chute, a little bit louder. Drop an apple in there. Let it try to crunch that up. It's kind of getting fed in. We'll drop a piece of ginger in behind it. That's finally getting fit in. We're going to go ahead and drop in that lemon. Next, we're going to go ahead and drop in the cucumber. As you guys can see, this is working. We're going to go ahead and drop in another piece of apple there. The auger is just rotating around and it's not really sucking the apple in too effectively until we drop in that cucumber to help push it in place. Next, let's go ahead and feed in another apple here. This one is not quite as auto-feeding as some of the other machines. I mean, the engineers at some of these companies take thousands of hours to basically make sure that you guys get the best user experience. You know, some of the Korean companies anyways. I'm not so sure about how, you know, these machines are made. If they're just like, oh, we're just going to do the same thing, and they don't really pay attention to all the tolerances and whatnot. I'm not really sure. Alright, this looks like it's kind of working. Let's go ahead and put another apple in, try to get it in there so it actually gets juiced. And finally the last cucumber going right in that we dropped in. Looks like it's trying to get it sucked in there. Alright, it looks like we got it sucked in. We'll let that run for a while we actually move on down to the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. Once again, nice wide 3-inch feed chute. We can take these apples here, just drop them right in. No problem. Let's go ahead and put in that piece of ginger. None of the machines were stocked up with any of the produce items that we juiced today. I think the juice today is pretty much stocked out of the Optimum juicer. So we're going to go ahead and turn this off. Let's go ahead and continue to juice in the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. As you guys could notice, when I drop a piece of produce into the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite, it basically just gets funneled right into the auger and gets ground up. Whereas in the juicer that I believe to be made in the same factory as the Optimum 600, there's still produce that didn't get juiced, whereas in the Kuvings, every time I'm dropping it in, it basically gets juiced right up. So this is very important to know. I mean, Kuvings, I mean, they take their time to make sure that their machine is properly designed so that you could use the pusher the least. This is going to save you guys time and ensure your guys are going to get the highest yield because all the produce is going to get juiced. Alright, we got 2 last things going in the machine. 1 cucumber and then down to the last one here. Once again, once you drop that last cucumber into the machine, you're going to want to let it sit there and juice for a while, not just turn the machine off instantly. So we're going to go ahead and let that run a little bit longer, and then we're going to basically come back at you and show you guys how each of these machines performed. Alright, looks like the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite is done. Let's go ahead and turn that baby off, and let's go ahead and get this table cleared up and see which juicer made the most juice. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the actual yields that each of these juicers produced when you juice the exact same amount of produce, right? Alright, so first is the Hurom juice right here. Next we got the Omega VSJ 843 juice. Next we got the Slowstar juice, which is nothing. Now I do want to say that this Slowstar juicer that I'm using today is a customer turn. I did get it back, and you know, they said it wasn't working properly. And I took it back and everything, and so this is the first time I'm using it, and guess what? It was actually defective. Normally the Slowstar would not have a problem juicing this whatsoever. It's actually one of the most powerful juicers on the table. Unfortunately, in this episode, it didn't work out that way. I'm not refilming this episode, and I just kind of tell it like it is, always in my videos, and this is the situation. This was a defective machine. So next we got the juicer, in my opinion, made in the same factory as the Optimum 600. And then finally we have the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. So let's go ahead and do a close-up on these juices to show you guys which juicer made the most juice. Alright, so as you guys could see, over on this side, the Hurom and the Omega VSJ made the highest yields. I mean, for all practical purposes, they're pretty much equal, but in this case, the VSJ 843 actually had a tad bit more yield than the Hurom. Let's see, over Slowstar, unfortunately empty, and then over here we got the juicer made in the same factory as the Optimum 600, in my opinion. Made less juice than the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite in this juice off. So if we just kind of back up for you guys can see the level amount of juice. Basically, the smaller feed chute machines made higher yield in this instance. So the next thing I want to do, besides just going over the overall yield, I want to strain the juice for you guys because this is very important, right? Some juicers may put more pulp in the juice than others and will artificially inflate the yield. That's why in many of my juice off comparisons, I actually use a strainer to take out the pulp so you guys could actually get the real world yield without added pulp. You know, some machines put so much pulp in the juice that it'll actually artificially inflate the yield, so you might think it's winning, but then when you drink it, you're like drinking like almost a smoothie, and this has happened to me in some of the machines. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and take a measuring cup with a standard sieve, and we're going to sieve out these juices here. First, we're going to go ahead and sieve out the Hurom juice. We're gonna go ahead and shake this sieve down. And even after shaking down this sieve, I don't know if you guys could see that, but there's pretty much like very little, if any, pulp left in. We're gonna go ahead and tap this on the table in front of the machine for fun. And then we're gonna go ahead and pour this back in to the glass. Next, we're gonna go ahead and strain out the Omega VSJ juice. Once again, we're going to go ahead and shake this baby down. And after shaking this baby down, once again, kind of like the Hurom, we have very little pulp left. Going to go ahead and tap that on the table, get it all out, and pour that back in the glass. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and strain out the juice made in the juicer that, in my opinion, is made in the same factory as the Optimum 600 juicer. And there's a lot more pulp in this juice. Let's go ahead and shake that down. And as you guys can see, it did a fairly good job, but it did leave some pulp in the juice. So we're going to go ahead and put that out. And we're going to go ahead and pour this juice back in the glass. Next, we're going to filter out the juice made in the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. And we're going to shake this down. And if you guys look at that, actually there's more pulp than the VSJ and the Hurom, but less pulp than the Optimum 600. We're going to go ahead and tap that out. And we're going to go ahead and pour this juice back in the cup. Alright, so now what we're looking at is the corrected juice yields versus the pulp inflated juice yield. And as you guys saw, the juice that was made in China actually had the most pulp in the juice. Let's go ahead and put these guys up front and center. And I don't really need to do a close-up for you guys on this. You guys can see what's going on. Basically, the overall ranking in this test is actually the VSJ 843 made the most juice. The next was the Hurom. The next was the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite C7000. And finally followed by the juicer that I believe to be made in the same factory as the Optimum 600 juicer right here. The other thing I want you guys to notice, I don't know if you guys can notice this, but if you look inside these machines, they look pretty clean on the inside bowl. It's all pretty clean. All these guys, except the juicer that's made in China, it's basically got a lot of splatter. So I kind of wonder really what that's about. So yeah, basically in my testing, much like I've shown in many other videos, in this situation, juicing these produce items, which is not a surprise to me, the VSJ 843 juiced the best. Now in my tests in the past, when I have juiced, say, the VSJ 843 versus the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite with different produce items, actually, in this instance, carrots, the Kuvings actually won. You know, when I did the Slowstar that we didn't get to see in this test, and the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite, in that test, the Kuvings actually won also. But, every juicer is going to perform a little bit differently depending on the produce you put in, right? And that's pretty much what it is. So next I want to do is get cleaned up, show you guys the machine that actually I use in my house every day, but also, more importantly, go over a video that's out there being played and share with you guys my commentary, critiques, and some things you guys will want to look out for in juicer comparison videos. So as you guys could see, I got done with that real, official, legitimate test to the best of my ability, doing everything I could to make a fair and even comparison to show you guys the real results. And it bothers me when anybody in life is trying to just misguide and mislead you. But especially, in areas that I'm very familiar with, such as juicers and with gardening and other things I do, right? So that's why I'm, now going to have this part of the video where actually I'm going to go ahead and critique the video that caused me to make this episode for you guys. So I guess without further ado, let's just get into the video, and I'll play parts of the video and then give you guys my commentary on it, all right? So the video's on YouTube. I won't put a link to it, but I'll play it right here and we'll throw it up as we're playing it. All right? So let's start off with how it starts.
Hi, it's Neil, Natural Juice Junkie, and I'm here with 4 of the latest juicers on the market.
All right, so Neil's there with 4 of the latest juicers on the market, which he does get into. The Kuvings original model whole slow juicer B6000, the Optimum 700, Hurom, which is actually an HU 700. I don't think that's available in the US, but that's a really old model. Like, that's the first generation Hurom that's comparable with the HU 100 and also the VRT 350 line. It's really an outdated machine. And then, of course, he has the VSJ 843 that you guys saw in this episode. So the thing I want you guys to remember is I want you guys always to look at the date the video was published, right? His video is going to be up there for years, and likewise, I have videos that's been up for 5 years. And if I'm talking about a juicer that I made 5 years ago, at the time, everything I said in that video was true and accurate to the best of my ability. But if you try to compare a juicer from 5 years ago, a video that you guys watched, to a video that I just made like last week, right? In general, the juicers are getting better, much like the iPhone now. What are they on an iPhone 4? Then they had a 5, now they have a 6, now they have a 7. Are they even up to the 8? I don't know. But anyways, technology gets better. So in general, but not always, the best juicers are the ones that are more recently introduced. So pay attention to the date that the video was put up, because technology can get outdated quickly. All right, let's go ahead and jump to another section of the video to watch.
And one of the first things I want to point out before we start actually are the differences between the juicers at this end and the juicers at this end of the table. Because the juicers at this end, both the Optimum 700 and the Kuvings, have wide feed chutes as opposed to skinny little ones. So the big difference there being, when I want to juice with these 2 machines, I'm going to have to chop everything up relatively small.
So in this part of the video, Neil's kind of making out like the big feed chutes are definitely the way to go, because you got to cut up things really small in the smaller feed chutes. And, you know, that's true and it's false at the same time. You know, produce items that are 3 inches in diameter or smaller will easily fit into a wide feed chute juicer that will not fit into a smaller feed chute machine. But, you know, if you're juicing a big cantaloupe or watermelon or other things, you still may need to cut it even to feed into a big feed chute juicer. The other thing that he actually doesn't mention is that, you know, I do recommend that on any juicer, whether a big feed chute or not, you guys want to cut and pre-cut things like celery and leafy greens like collard greens, Swiss chard, spinach, because the large fibrous or the long fibrous strands or strings in these vegetables may clog up and jam the machine.
And there's something else that's different in terms of size as well. Both the Optimum 700 and the Kuvings have rather large augers or squeezing screws, as opposed to having these kind of much smaller ones, which are actually more comparable with the Optimum 400, which is an older model of the Optimum brand. And generally speaking, the bigger the screw, the more it's able to actually get in terms of juice from the produce. Anyway,
so in this part, Neil is talking about like basically kind of making out the smaller augers are older technology and they're not good. Kind of that's the sense I kind of got from it, the kind of spin he put on it. And then he went on to say that, you know, the larger augers get actually more juice out than the smaller augers. And this may not necessarily be the case, and in most cases has not been my experience. Just because the auger is larger does not necessarily mean you're going to get more juice. You know, I think the thing that's more important particularly is the space between the auger and the juicing screen, and actually how well the auger grinds up. You can have a nice big, you know, auger that is not properly aligned, not properly, you know, designed in with the machine and in with the juicing screen, so that it could be huge, but it does a terrible job at juicing. I mean, you guys saw this earlier when I was using, you know, the smaller auger machines in this comparison and the big augers, and both small augers that actually worked in this episode that you guys saw earlier out yielded the big auger. So yeah, totally, like, you know, they're in some cases the bigger auger and the machine with the wider feed chute may make more yield, but in more cases than not, from my experience, that's just simply not true. It's kind of like saying big buff guys are always better than the small guys. I mean, if you ever look up the Olympics, some of the people that could lift the most weight are not like big buff, you know, guys. They're like small, skinny, really fit guys. So bigger is not always better, especially if you're racing horses, which I actually don't agree with. because, you know, that's what, you know, the jockeys, they want like the smallest guys because they're the lightest. Anyways, yeah, let's continue on and see what Neil has to say.
Then when that one's finished, again, just switch it off.
Alright, so in this part of the episode, you guys saw Neil basically pretty much go to each juicer and kind of juice something in each of them. And, you know, there's a lot of editing done in there. I try generally to try to, like, you know, keep most of my clips when I'm actually juicing unedited. And if I'm not going to show the entire clip, sometimes I'll just speed it up so you guys could actually see me going through the process. Plus, in many instances, I'll actually have a stopwatch on so you guys could see how long it takes me to juice in that particular juicing. I don't particularly care for when there's a lot of editing, you know, because you don't exactly know what's going on. Also, you kind of he shows you just going into the juicing. He doesn't say, hey, I'm weighing out this produce, I'm juicing cucumbers, you know, apples, ginger, and, you know, lemon. He just starts juicing, and he just clips to it really fast, so you don't even know if he weighed out the produce, if he measured it properly, if it's the same amount of produce, if he's feeding the same amount in, or anything. The other thing I don't recommend you guys do in most cases in vertical single auger juicers is to use the pusher. He was using the pusher in many of the machines, and in many instances that may lead to feeding things in too quickly into the juicer, which means that's going to overall lower yields. So I like to have a fair comparison by basically dropping in the produce and letting the machine work at its own pace. Of course, if something gets stuck in the feed chute, then and only then would I actually use the pusher to kind of dislodge that, to keep it going and to get it unstuck so that I can continue to juice. So in this way, the video may be manipulated by trying to push things in too fast, but, you know, just the fact that he actually didn't measure the produce, I think that's a much more bigger red flag myself. Let's see what else Neil has to say.
Let's find out how much juice is in each one of these and give it a taste. So with the Omega, the jug is showing about 300 milliliters.
So here what Neil is doing, he's actually just going right in to just taking up the containers and telling you guys how much each one made as if they were all equal, which I do not know, and you guys do not know if he was actually juicing equal amounts in the first place. So, you know, this is a little bit curious to me. He kind of like goes on to say that, you know, hey, well, I got this much in this juicer, this much in this juicer, and okay, so he's got that much, but how much produce did you put in the first place? We don't know. And the other caveat, if you guys look at the video and then the clip I just showed, you know, he's using the collection cups that come with each juicer. And, you know, this is generally alright, but the problem is when you're using the measuring cups that come with each juicer, I have noticed in the past, and this has actually happened to me, different juice cups will say, you know, will have the demarcation lines at 500 milliliters, 250 milliliters, or, you know, whatever they come in. And you could fill one cup up to 500 milliliters, put it into another cup that came with a different juicer, and it's off. So, you know, I would not necessarily trust the measurements on some of these containers, so that's why I generally use standardized containers, the exact same measuring cups from the same manufacturer that are as close as possible, you know, that I could find. And so this way we have a standardized test, so you're comparing apples to apples instead of apples to oranges.
Say more like 250. So at the moment, in terms of yield, the Omega is definitely the winner. Let's try the juice itself. It's incredibly bitty. So it's got all the flavours, but it's really, really bitty. Really bitty. I would actually want to sieve that juice.
Alright, so you guys just saw Neil, you know, number one, once again, you know, tells you the amount of yield that the juicer made, but then also he pours it off, and then he goes ahead and drinks it. And of course, you know, he says it's bitty, which I could only imagine it means it has lots of bits in there, or is very pulpy. And this is totally true. Using an older generation machine, some of the machines are not dialed in, they may have more pulp in the juice. The other thing, my other comment is that, you know, Bittiness or pulp in the juice is a taste sensation, which is subjective. It's not objective. That's why I like to use strainers in my episodes to strain out the pulp and show you guys how much pulp was actually in the juice. You know, that's more objective than subjective. You know, but that being said, I would agree with his assessment that the older generation Huroms, as well as the older generation Omega VRT models, does make a pulpier juice. And of course, the other thing that I will say is that pulp in the juice may artificially inflate the yield. So that's why I try to subtract out for the pulp in the juice, because, you know, when taste testing different juices, you could say one's bitty and the other one isn't, and that's the same one that also made more yield. Let's see what words of wisdom Neil has for us now.
If I was to say, okay, do I go this side or this side? I'm probably going to go for the wide mouth because of the added convenience of not having to chop everything up.
All right, so, you know, Neil's now telling you kind of like, if he had a choice, you know, hey, that's his choice, that's cool. He'd go with a wide feed chute. And you don't have to, he says you don't have to chop things up. So that's, once again, true or false, depending on what you're juicing. If you're just juicing apples and tomatoes and pears that are smaller than 3-inch in diameter, then you absolutely don't have to chop anything up, you know. I don't necessarily buy my produce based on size. I buy it based on the price in many cases, or the quality. And so sometimes I just end up with large apples because those are the ones the store had. And even if I had a 3-inch wide feed chute like I used today in this demonstration, I still had to cut them because the apples were wider than the feed chute on the juicer. You know, many commonly items that are juiced, such as carrots, don't even need to be cut on a, you know, smaller feed chute juicer. Of course, even on a wide feed chute juicer, if you're juicing things like celery and leafy greens, I highly encourage you guys to cut those for the best results, or clogging and jamming may result. So, you know, while it does add some convenience and can save some time, you know, that may be over-exaggerated in some instances. Now, another thing about the wide feed chute machines, and maybe Neil doesn't experience this because, you know, if he's juicing, you know, the recipe that I juiced today, which is the same recipe he used, which is cucumbers, apples, ginger, and lemons, those items tend to juice fairly well in all the vertical auger juicers, right? For example, in wide feed chute juicers, it's been my experience that leafy green vegetables don't generally juice as well. Now, they will juice, yeah, and they're going to do a great job. They're going to do way better than a high-speed machine, but they may not do as good as, say, in an Omega VSJ 843. You know, in that juicer, it grinds a little bit better, and it makes a higher yield, plus it leaves less pulp in the housing of the juicer when you're done. So, you know, if there's pulp in the housing of your juicer when you're done, that means you're going to lose some yield. So that means the juicer has to be even more efficient at juicing. So in the case of today, when juicing softer things like the apples and the cucumbers in a wide feed chute machine, you know, there tends to be more pulp left over in the housing of the juicer because it's not getting pushed through because it's too soft, and the juicer needs something hard and fibrous to latch onto. Something like carrots or celery that'll help push the items through the machine, which will mean you're going to get a higher yield in that situation on the wide feed chutes. Yeah. Now let's take a look at what else Neil has to say.
But I like the fact that with the Optimum 700, we got more juice.
So he just goes right into the fact that, hey, in the Optimum 700, we got more juice, you know? All right. So yeah, I'm not debating that you got more juice. I definitely saw it on the screen that, you know, you read it out that machine made more juice. But did you get more juice because you actually juiced more produce items in that machine? As a viewer, we don't know, honestly, because number one, he didn't weigh out the produce, and number two, most of the juicing was actually done off screen because it was edited out. So, you know, I find these statements, you know, challenging to believe myself.
The other big thing is this. The Optimum 700 comes with a lifetime guarantee on the motor. Lifetime guarantee. Now, I don't know hardly any, if any, other juicers that offer that. In terms of, you know, that commitment to say it's a robust quality product, lifetime guarantee, I don't think you can beat.
So now he's talking about a lifetime guarantee on the motor, right? So as I mentioned before, early in the video, the motor is the least likely thing to fail on any juicer. And so, you know, in my opinion, long motor warranty may not be that valuable because the parts that are going to break are the juicing components And on the juicing components, they have a shorter warranty on that machine than all the others, I believe, in the video. I'm not familiar with the juicer warranties in the UK, but I am familiar with them in the US. And I know maybe the Hurom, that has a really short warranty. That's why I don't like to recommend that model. But the Omega and the Kuvings both have long warranties. 15 years on the Omega VSJ 843 on the entire machine, including the motor, and then 10 years on the entire machine on the Kuvings whole slow juicer Elite, or just the standard whole slow juicer. So yeah, and then the other thing, I talked about a little bit earlier is, despite a long warranty, if the company that's selling the Optimum juicer goes out of business, and you can't get service or parts for it, then there's no warranty. And if the parts are not available, then there's no warranty. So there's many things that take into consideration, besides just touting a lifetime warranty. And yeah, I like to tout the warranties too, because it is definitely a selling point. And for me, because my life was saved only by juicing and making other dietary changes to include more fruits and vegetables in my diet, a juicer, should be an essential part of your kitchen. And you do want to get a juicer with a good solid warranty behind it, in my opinion. But I kind of think he's kind of blowing up the motor warranty, and he doesn't talk at all actually about the other parts on the juicer and what is warranted or not.
But even that is slightly pipped to the post by the Optimum 700 in terms of its yield. Juice tastes about the same, and that lifetime guarantee and that wide feed chute, that's the one that gets it for me.
So that's pretty much where the video ends. He's basically comparing the VSJ, which was his basically second choice. He said the juice was, tasted about the same, but the yield was better on the Optimum, but the lifetime warranty really gets it for him, So once again, the yield, we don't even know if that was actually accurate or not. Yeah, lifetime motor warranty is definitely good. I'd choose a longer warranty on the entire machine over a lifetime motor warranty, because chances are, the machines will be getting better in future years, and you probably will want to upgrade. But I mean, even for those of you guys that are just going to stick with the same juicer, right? 15 years on the entire machine, like the Omega VSJ 843 has in America, is definitely a great deal. And I don't blame him for touting up the Optimum juicer. That's the one he likes, and everybody has their preferences. I personally have my own preferences. I test all the machines, and the thing about me is that I juice almost every day. My standard juice, like I'm drinking today, is the juice that I made in the demo today. But I'll juice from 32 to 64 ounces, and that's what I drink in a day normally, every single day. And so I juice day in, day out, and I got into juicing over 20 years ago now for health reasons. That's when I started doing it almost on a regular and consistent basis. And before that, I was actually introduced to juicing as a child from my parents, because they had a high-speed centrifugal non-ejection juicer back in the day. I think I was like 12 or something, so I knew about juicing then and drinking our carrot juice when I was a kid. So another thing about Neil, the natural juice junkie, and I don't want you guys to be a junkie about juice or drugs or anything else in your life. Don't be a junkie. That's maybe not the right mindset. I want you guys to eat a healthy diet based around fruits and vegetables myself. One of the things about him that you may not realize by watching the video, you may think he's fair and impartial, but in some websites, he's actually been described and describes himself as a brand ambassador for the Optimum line of juicers. So this means he represents them and he has some kind of dealings with them. I'm not exactly sure what. So then obviously, if you're a brand ambassador for a company and not others, you're going to want to promote that, more than others. And it looks to me that he doesn't necessarily sell juicers directly, but he juices and does retreats and all these things. And hey, great for him. He got into juicing a number of years ago and he lost weight and he's healthy because of it. And hey, that's great. And he's spreading the message about juicing. Hey, that's great. I just want, more, fact-based videos out there where people are not maybe clouding or hiding the truth, whether on purpose or not on purpose, because you're just maybe a little bit dense or something. And that's cool. I just want the truth to be out there, and that's why I'm making this video, to show you guys my comments on it. A few other things that I want to encourage you guys to check in on. Number one is duty cycle of the juicer. Very important. A lot of the machines from Korea have a long duty cycle, and that means how long could you run the juicer before you got to turn it off, and it has to take a mandatory cool down break, right? And some of the cheap imported machines from China tend to have weaker power motors that have a short duty cycle. A matter of fact, the juicer that I was using earlier, that I believe to be made in the same factory as the Optimum 600 juicer, has in the printed instruction manual has like a 15-minute duty cycle. So that's a pretty short duty cycle. Minimum normally is around 30 minutes, but even if a duty cycle is 30 minutes, you know, I've used my Omega VSJ for an hour at a time without fault or without it shutting down on me, right? So you want that ensures you have a good quality machine that's going to last a long time. Another thing you guys want to look into is where is the juicer made? As I said before, Korea originated this technology of the vertical slow juicer, and I believe they make the best vertical slow juicers right now. And every day there's a new company popping up selling their vertical slow juicer. Ask them where it was made. If it's made in China, be a little bit wary. Not to say that all, you know, units and things made in China are bad. Actually, you know, I've been testing one of the Optimum blenders. And actually both me and my girlfriend prefer this Optimum blender actually over Vitamix. But once again, just because one company makes a blender or sells a blender that's really good doesn't mean all their products are going to be really good, right? And their blenders are also made in China. Next thing I want you guys to pay attention to is how long has a company that's selling the juicer been around? Did they just all of a sudden show up overnight and their domain names were just registered a year or 2 years ago, right? That could mean the company is a fly-by-night company. Maybe, maybe not. Or they could just be getting into the juicing craze because they see dollar signs and they just be selling anything. They could be selling widgets for all they care just to make a buck, you know. I sell juicers because they have changed my life, and I know the power of juicing and the power of the fruits and vegetables and getting more of them into you and how they can change your life. So I don't just sell the juicers, I actually use them each and every day. Go around and test them, keep up to date by going to trade shows, and bring you guys these episodes so you guys could basically know everything I know, so you guys could have the most informed decision. And unfortunately, you know, in this case, his video is about 7 minutes. And, you know, people don't like watching my long YouTube videos. You guys got to the end of this video, it's been quite a while, but you guys are learning a lot of things that somebody watching a 7-minute video is not going to know, because everybody wants that quick answer. John, what's a juicer to buy? Just tell me which one. Well, you know, I got to get to know you and your needs and what you're juicing and your goals with juicing, right? I got to find out, like, what you want to do, and that's what I try to show in my videos. And unfortunately, to show all this and explain it so that you guys get a good understanding, it takes me longer than 7 minutes, unfortunately, right? Because there's so many factors to consider in any purchase, not just with a juicer purchase. I mean, you guys, maybe if your guy is buying an expensive car, you know, you make sure more and more, but even a $400 juicer, you know, you want to make sure you get the right one. And that's why I'm here to help you guys select the right one and trying to cut through all the BS for you, right? Another question besides how long has the company been around is, will the company be there in the future to support the juicer should you buy it? You know, on a lifetime warranty, is the company going to be around in 100 years to support that warranty? You know, I know a lot of old school German companies are still around supporting warranties on their products. I mean, here in America, Sears and the Craftsman brand, man, if you got a Craftsman screwdriver set from 1920 and it fails, go back to Sears, man, they'll give you another one. I mean, I'd probably rather have a 1920 screwdriver by Craftsman than one made today. I think it's of higher quality. But nonetheless, you know, will the company be around in the long run? You know, and one of the ways to know that is if you're buying from a company that's been around and been established and been in business for a long time, they're more likely to be around in the future than not. In addition, a company that has a wider spectrum of products than just one machine, this is the only juicer this company sells, you know, they have other revenue streams, because if their juicer stops selling, then they may not be in business anymore, right? But if a company has a lot of different products, that ensures money is continuing to flow and that they'll continue to be around in the long run. So another question you guys want to ask yourself before buying a juicer is, how well does this juicer juice the produce items that I want to juice the most? You know, if you're a guy like Neil and you want to juice, you know, things like cucumbers and apples and some ginger and a little bit of lemon for a nice, you know, fancy, good tasting juice like I made today, you can of course do that, but you know, these items are fairly easy to juice. They're also fairly easy to eat yourself. You know, I do recommend in most cases to eat your fruits whole, maybe blend them, and but to juice your vegetables. So things that you wouldn't normally eat. You know, I might normally eat an apple or a cucumber and stuff, but I'm not generally going to eat something like I don't know, beets, you know. But if I juice them, I'll drink them. Or if I'm juicing turmeric, I'll drink it. For a really nutritious juice, I would encourage you guys to check my video that I put a link down below. The best juice recipe for weight loss. I just came up with that recently and put that video up. That's a really nutrient-packed juice that's much more nutritious, you know, than the juice Neil is making. So I really want to encourage you guys to juice all varieties of things, and especially include some of the deep leafy greens, which some juicers, especially slow juicers, may not juice as well as others. So the other thing you guys want to realize is that there are many different kinds of slow juicers besides just the vertical slow juicers that Neil is showing today. You know, there's horizontal slow juicers and even cold press, two-stage hydraulic, you know, slow juicers that make a high quality juice. Twin gear juicers. You want to find the right juicer for you, and depending on your specific needs, you might want to get one over another one. And a vertical juicer, while they're the most versatile, may not be the right juicer for everyone. So another thing that Neil says somewhere in the video is that all juicers are basically the same to clean. They take the same amount of time, and I have found that to be actually false. Some juicers could take a few extra minutes, and you know, a few extra minutes can basically take you from wanting to juice to not wanting to juice, because like, oh, it's a pain, I gotta clean that juicer, right? For me personally, the Omega VSJ 843 is the easiest to clean. It takes me under 3 minutes to clean, and it's a breeze to clean. It doesn't have all the nooks and crannies, you know, especially with a wider feature. That's more surface area you gotta clean in the get-go, not to mention the screen. The screen on the VSJ 843 barely ever clogs on me, and so it's always a breeze to clean, whereas on some larger feed chute juicers, the screen gets clogged up because, you know, the manufacturers that have been designing these for a long time, that have big R&D departments, you know, basically optimize the design of the machine down to even the screen hole size to work the best for their juicer and the design. So the last thing I want to explain to you guys is that I want you guys in general to buy from a company that actually produces the juicer and manufactures the juicer themselves. You know, many companies these days are simply resellers of juicers, and they may just basically finding a juicer made in China that's basically a copycat of a name brand juicer and then selling it for less, or in even some cases selling it for more money and making, you know, pretty nice profits out of you guys. And not to say that the juicers from China are no good. You know, some of them, most of them that I've actually tested are not of high quality. I look forward to the day that I test one where it actually beats some of the ones and my favorites, right? So here's the thing, you know, major companies like Omega and Kuvings and Tribest, right? I visited the factories where those machines are made in Korea. Those are legitimate, right? They do R&D to make sure they're having the highest quality machines. You know, there's other companies that just basically pop out of nowhere that'll have the Optimum 700 juicer, for example, and it's like, where did this juicer come from? So like, I sat down, and knowing what I know about the industry, I did some research. And so what happened was, I went to a website, which I'll tell you guys in a second, but anyways, what happened was they found a juicer made in China they could basically slap their name onto and then sell for a lot more money. So, you know, I think I found out where they buy their machine. This may not be accurate, so I don't want to say it is, or I don't want to say it isn't. You know, this is a potential thing that's happening. So anyways, let's go to the website to share with you guys more how some of the industry works. There on Google, you could search for like made in China. And one of the search results will be made-in-china.com. And then made in China, basically it says connecting buyers with Chinese suppliers. So there's many suppliers in China that make everything. Widgets, blenders, tents, you know, power tools. A lot of them may not be the best quality, but nonetheless, they're here, and you could find them. Find the factories that make the juicers that may have knocked off other juicers, or maybe they're coming up with their own designs and original stuff, which I've yet to see. But you could find them here on the Made in China website. So we're just going to go ahead and do a search for big feed slow juicer. Maybe we'll do 40 RPM. We'll hit enter. That's kind of like the specs of the Optimum 700. And if we look on here, oh look, the first one, it says, I'll throw it up on the video so you guys can see it. It says, big feed mouth slow juice, Hurom slow juicer, Kuvings slow juicer. Of course, this is not a Kuvings or Hurom juicer, so that may be an infringement. but it's made by a company Ningbo Pubai Electrical Appliance in Zhejiang, China. And let's see, it says FOB price $85, right? Wow, John, $85. If I could go buy this juicer for $85, why would I spend $549 for potentially the same machine from the Fruity company that sells the Optimum 700 machine? Well, maybe they're going to back it up more. Maybe it's a different machine than the one that I'm showing you guys. You know, but the other thing is that you got to buy 500 pieces to get the $85 price. And that's the price just out of their factory. Then you got to pay for the trucking or the boat shipment of the juicers to come over. Plus then you have to, you know, set up a distribution system, set up a warehouse, and all this kind of stuff. So then that keeps tacking on prices. But basically, if this is accurate, you know, the Optimum 700 machine is a wholesale at $85. And you could get them and start your own juicer brand. I could have the John Kohler juicer brand. I could buy these for $85, slap my name on it, and sell for $400. And you know, there's a lot of margin in there, but also there's a lot of expenses and costs and import taxes and duties and all this stuff associated with putting that together. But basically, this shows me that potentially the juicer, that the Optimum 700 juicer is being made in China and sourced by the Fruity company from potentially this company. And I'm not saying this is true or not because I don't know. And they're buying it for cheap and they're selling it for high. And I mean, that's just business, guys. But you know, at the same time, how do we know this is a good quality product aside from maybe a few videos online? You know, I have yet to test this machine here and whether that is the same or not as the Optimum 700. I don't know. I do look forward to the day I do test the Optimum 700 against some of the other machines because I look forward to sharing the real world results and actually what happens. You know, I'm considering selling some of the products made by Fruity. I mean, I really like their blender a lot, and maybe we'll be working with them really soon to resell some of their products as long as, you know, the quality's good and I could, you know, because I test products before I sell them. You gotta understand, like, I'll take a product, I'll use it for like several months and make sure I try to break it and, you know, see if it's gonna fail or not. If it passes my test, then I'll offer it to you guys and I'll show them in my videos. But, you know, that's what you guys got to understand when you buy a juicer from discountjuicers.com. You're buying a juicer that's tried and true, you know, one that's going to be supported by a company that's going to be around for a long time. And you're looking at the top-end juicers, not just these potentially, you know, fly-by-night companies that just are reselling juicers made in China for a lot of money. And then they have, you know, slick marketing videos to make you guys think that they're better when they may or may not be. So, I mean, that's pretty much the end of this episode. I just kind of wanted to shed some light with you guys, you know, on juicers and juicing and kind of like share with you guys, like, I don't know, some of the things that you should look for when watching a video before you just kind of believe the guy in the video. I mean, I like to think that you should be able to believe me because I try to be open and honest and share how the machines perform in specific situations. But remember, you know, just because when I use a juicer and I get this result doesn't mean you're going to get the exact same results. You know, the produce quality may vary, you may be juicing different things, but, you know, I try to be as realistic, honest, and accurate as possible in my videos. And, you know, and you guys want to, number one, you want to keep up to date with my videos because as I learn more information, as I try juicing new things, I'll make new videos about it. And so I would always say that my newest videos supersede my older videos because I always am here to bring you guys the latest technology. And stay tuned for an upcoming episode where I'm actually going to be going to CES. That's a Consumer Electronics Show 2017 to bring you guys the latest in juicing and blending technology. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, I want to encourage you guys to support me and my work by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. I try my hardest to basically provide a valuable service for you guys that, you know, big box retailers and other companies and other people are not doing. I try to give you like real, honest reviews of the juicers so you guys can get the best juicer for you because I know juicing can and will change your life if you buy the juicer. But not only buy it, you got to use it each and every day, and it has to be durable and, you know, provide and juice the best yields and juice the things that you want to juice the most, right? And I can only do this if you guys support me. So yeah, I encourage you guys to support me in my work and make your purchase at Discount Juicers. Thank you for those of you guys that have supported me in the past, and thank you for you guys that are going to support me in the future so I can continue my work to make these educational YouTube videos on a variety of topics to help make the change in the world that I want to see. The other thing I would encourage you guys to do is to give me a thumbs up. If you guys enjoyed this format, I'll do more videos kind of like revealing maybe incorrect videos that are on YouTube. There's a few of them, a few other ones that actually I'm not a big fan of because they're just spreading misinformation. And above all else, I just want accurate and truthful information out there. And even if there's a machine I don't particularly care for, as long as they're portraying it accurately, I don't have a problem with that, right? I mean, everybody's free to buy their own juicer, do their own research, but I just kind of want to make the information, the real information, more accessible to you guys so you guys could get and make the best choice, for you and your family. Also, be sure to share this video with somebody that is considering buying a juicer so now they have the inside scoop on the information about juicers and the juicing industry and what to look out for in juicing videos. And also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below. I have new videos coming out about every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. And lastly, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. I have over 450 videos on this YouTube channel, more than anybody else that I know, dedicated to teaching you guys and sharing with you guys about the power of juicing and comparing the different juicers, blenders, and dehydrators and other products that allow you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables so you guys can make the changes in your life that you want to make. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.